And so I hear you were a nurse.
Do you want me to tell my story now?
Let's hear it.
Okay, I want to start when I'm in my college room at St. Catherine's College in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm sitting at my desk doing my homework, and I've got the radio on, of course, and the program is interrupted. A familiar voice says, "This is a day that will live in infamy." It's December 7th, 1941. I knew when that familiar voice said that all the guys would be gone. I just about lost it there, but I continued on and went to Rochester. They had converted to wartime. There was no RNs at the hospitals. The students did the nursing, where you bathed the patient every day, kept the linens immaculate, gave them back rubs at bedtime. We'd work 3 to 7 in the morning, go to classes at 4 in the afternoon, go back to work 3 to 7. 6 out of 7 days a week in those 3 years I was there. Talk about a little bit of intensity. By the time I got out of there, there was nothing I couldn't do in nursing. I was a head nurse my last 6 months. I graduated in 1945. By this time, we were in the cadet corps, and we were going to go into the Army when we got out. So we got out in June of 45. Well, then the war stops, just when we were getting out of training, so we didn't have to go. But some of my friends and I, we went to Denver anyway. And we got there, and I can remember dancing in a fountain because of the war being over, with a whole bunch of servicemen. I don't know where they came from. We're 18, 19 years old. We're dancing in the fountain. And I didn't stay in Denver very long. 4 of my friends had gone to Seattle. So I said, okay, I'll go to Seattle. And I got to Harborview. At that time was the start of the baby boom. And so I ended up in OB. I was in the nursery taking care of the babies. We had a black gal that was in charge of the nursery. And at that time, she wouldn't go on the bus with me, and I couldn't figure that out. I was going downtown, she was going down. But I figured it out later that she thought I shouldn't be seen with her. Isn't that sad?
That's really sad.
Anyway, she was in charge of the nursery, but we helped out. We took care of the labor patients. And then I heard some jobs in Alaska. And I said, why not? So up we go to Alaska. While I was there, they started giving penicillin. And we had one young man who was in his 30s who was dying of pneumonia. 2 or 3 days later, he was home. It was just a miracle. But I only stayed there until graduation time. And so I left Nome and went back to Seattle and got my friend. And we drove to Minnesota. And then we got recruited by the polio epidemic in Los Angeles. We worked in the acute polio patients. They were all in incubators. We just had them when they're the sickest.
Just when they were infectious.
They couldn't eat unless you fed them with a tube. They were completely helpless. And the 10th floor of the main hospital was nothing but children. They had 100 beds on those floors. And then I went into the Army. I was in the Army at Fitzsimmons Hospital in Denver, Colorado. I was there for the TB. At night, they had Quonset huts with 100 men in each. While I was there, they started giving PAS and strep. And we were getting cures. I knew that was the end of that, because these guys were getting well right and left. Then from the Army, I came back to Seattle and got my degree. And I went to the UW clinic for 9 years.
What advice would you give to somebody just starting out?
Hang on tight, baby. It's going to be a good ride.
Thank you.